In 1996, doctors in Chicago said this morning's guest's speech would be affected. They were right. He's talking about Myrtle Beach every day. Meet Larry Bragg, coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're in the lobby of the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce. We're focused on the City of Myrtle Beach's Community Appearance Board, and we're with Larry Bragg, the chairman of the board, part 2. Here we go.
Thank you.
It's funny saying part 2 for anyone. We're going to get Brad in tomorrow and the next day, so hopefully we can get a part 1 and part 2.
Oh, he'll demand it, no doubt.
And this amazing lobby here. So much goes on.
It's a great building.
At the Chamber of Commerce.
For the city.
It really is. 1200 North Oak Street. And a lot of folks probably drive by here, man, even think about popping in. Oftentimes don't even know what a Chamber of Commerce is or does. And it's important just to take the time, come on in the lobby, check this place out.
Isn't it great to know that the people around the state now are recognizing the economic engine of South Carolina is tourism.
Right.
And for many years it was the proverbial redheaded stepchild, but as you've seen in the papers, the granting of monies for advertising and the great job that the Myrtle Beach Chamber does. It's a wonderful organization, and it really spreads the word.
And a lot of the hoteliers here and local tourism entrepreneurs working, I mean, that state grant that you mentioned, the 2-to-1, the state, the local folks had to raise $10 million on their own to be able to get the $5 million state grant.
It's fascinating that we've come of age and can do that now.
I know, truly, absolutely. Larry, it's so exciting to have the opportunity for viewers who weren't with us yesterday, who may not have had an opportunity to get to know you a little bit yesterday. Just real quick about yourself. Are you originally from the area?
No, I'm originally from Savannah.
Right.
But I've been here over 40 years now.
I think you mentioned yesterday the U.S. Air Force brought you to the Myrtle Beach area. You were
proud member of that.
On the base for 5 years.
Yes.
Yeah. What does it feel like now to drive down what's now, I guess, Faro Parkway? Was it Faro Parkway?
It was Faro at that time.
Is that right?
It's a great feeling. The land is not lying fallow, and to see another chapter in the life of Myrtle Beach coming of age, it's great. I was very fortunate, too, when I got out of the Air Force. They had an organization called a Military Affairs Committee, which was a bridge between the Air Force and the city of Myrtle Beach, and I served on that for several years and through the Chamber of Commerce, and there were many great positive things that came out of that for the Air Force and for the Chamber. So there's always a special place in my heart for the Air Force and for that land.
Oh yeah, very definitely. It's had such an impact, and of course to think about how many amazing folks have landed and made Myrtle Beach their home after serving either a short tenure or even a long tenure. Oftentimes, folks, we had General Bob Reed with us.
Absolutely.
The not too distant past, talking about the Redevelopment Authority, the chairman of their board, or one of the members of their board, and to think about his tenure there as the wing commander, and then leaving and deciding this was the place he wanted to be.
No place on earth like it.
It is. It is. For viewers who missed it yesterday, hearing you talk about the magic of Myrtle Beach, getting out of the Air Force and determining this was going to be your home, even though you could have gone back to Savannah. That was a big difference.
It was a life-altering decision. It really was, but one I don't regret at all.
Absolutely. The Community Appearance Board, for viewers who may not be familiar with it, why is a Community Appearance Board necessary, Larry?
That's a very good question, Greg. And whenever I'm asked that, either by a member of the press or the public, since they say you're appointed and shouldn't be here, or I want to do what I want with my property or my land or my business, get in your car, and even though we have great neighbors to the west and the north and the south, you will certainly know when you leave the city limits of Myrtle Beach. Based on the overabundance of signs, the lack of landscaping, the acres and acres of asphalt, the jumbled look of everything else, you know when you've left Myrtle Beach. So that, in a nutshell, is why it's so important to have a community appearance board. You could not write enough ordinances to cover all those items. The council would be writing them 7 days a week. So a board is extremely important, and I hope to see in the future every municipality with one. I'm optimistic
so
for that.
So a lot of communities do not have
no, they do not.
A community parents board or anything like
that?
that?
No, but we've had visitors from other municipalities, not only in South Carolina, but in the Southeast. Visitors from other cities that have heard about the Myrtle Beach Community Appearance Board, and they will come and observe and ask questions as far as getting one started and the duties and responsibilities. So it's growing.
We think about in Horry County, let's say, of course, the bulk of our viewers are in the PD and southeastern North Carolina. I want to ask you about those, but for instance, in the municipalities, we have Loris, Aner, North Myrtle Beach, the town of Surfside Beach, obviously Conway. Do those communities have a community parents board?
No, at present, Georgetown County has a couple of architectural review boards that are doing some great things down there. The city of Conway, in their historic district, downtown area specifically, they have a architectural review board.
Right.
In North Myrtle Beach, they have a wonderful Keep America Beautiful committee, and many citizens up there that I think would very much like to see a CAB. So I've talked to several of them. You have a great council in North Myrtle Beach. Mayor Hatley and the members of that council are doing a splendid job. So
they really are.
I hope that will be one of the goals for the council.
You mentioned Keep America Beautiful.
Right.
I think yesterday you'd mentioned Marge Stonebrook and getting a Keep America Beautiful chapter started here in Myrtle Beach. I think you got active with that, and then later even on a statewide level. Share with viewers what that was like, Larry.
Marge was a great woman, and for those who didn't get a chance to know her, she was one of the most unforgettable characters that you would read about in the Reader's Digest magazine. And in the early 80s, we were serving on some other board, I don't remember what it was, and she asked me if I would join the KAB instead of the CAB. And I agreed to, and saw all the great work they were doing. There was a loose group of chapters from around the state, so we hired a director in Columbia full-time through PRT, and at one time we had about 45 chapters around the state.
Is that right?
KAB. It grew from infancy and it matured. We no longer have one in Myrtle Beach. I think that's a shame, but so much the good that KAB did do is still going on.
Right.
There was no such thing as recycling or beach sweeps or adopt a highway programs or recycling on the community level until KAB got into the picture.
Is that right? That's tremendous.
The schools now have programs now regarding recycling.
Sure. They have really, and of course I know you got active on a statewide level, and to see it expand.
It was very rewarding. That's why I say North Myrtle Beach's KAB could be the great emphasis for a CAB up there.
For viewers who weren't with us yesterday, Larry, or even ones who were, just to rehash a little bit the airport issue, that was obviously a big one. You talked about yesterday that there had not been a vote between the two bodies, or exactly just how did that work? Maybe you didn't talk directly about that. I'm misquoting there, but share with viewers just how that process came about.
Well, there was an agreement, the 2004 agreement, which you see about in the newspaper, and it allowed the council through zoning, the county council through zoning established by the Myrtle Beach Council, for the West Side Terminal, should they choose, to attempt to build one over there. That was an approval by the Myrtle Beach City Council, but the zoning allowed it subject to all of the other rules and regulations and ordinance of the city. A major component on that is the approval of the Community Appearance Board, which the county did want.
They did want,
specifically wanted the Community Appearance Board. So the agreement was signed by all parties. I believe you even attended the press conference out
Absolutely.
there. And I just found it fascinating that no one from the county apparently read the ordinance of establishing the Community Appearance Board and what our duties and responsibilities and jurisdiction was. But we were very serious about protecting the quality of life of Myrtle Beach, but we did not make a flip decision, and we tried very hard to work with the county. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. We had 3 times the amount of meetings that were required by law trying to find common ground, and at the end of the day it did not work, and no one acted in haste as far as the board members. It was a very hard thought out decision. Very proud of the board that they gave all of their time and dedication to coming up with that.
Not to speculate too much, but just trying to gauge, was there a chance, I mean, was there any kind of airport that could have been created over there? Obviously, the city opened up the zoning.
Right.
But having an airport out there in general on the west side, was that ever going to be a viable option?
It was. No one, I can speak with authority, no one from my board had totally ruled it out when they came to make the presentation. We looked at it, with an open mind. We tried to find common ground. One of my major concerns was the traffic being dumped on Farrell Parkway.
Right.
So I thought if that could be handled by another ingress and egress to 17, that would allay one of my major fields. I tried very hard to get that done. Other people had their own hot buttons. So yes, there were many sleepless nights spent.
Oh yeah.
Trying to find some common ground, but as I said, it wasn't meant to be.
Right.
But no, it was not a no, you're never going to get it, period.
Sure.
Why are you bothering to come to us attitude? Not at all.
Have there been some other big bugaboos or issues over the last, I think you said the Community Appearance Board has been around a little more than a quarter century.
Right.
Obviously, you mentioned yesterday you've been on the board for a little less than a quarter century, so almost since its inception. And how long is the chairman, Larry?
20 plus years.
Is that right?
Yes.
Golly. You think about any other big issues that folks may have forgotten about that had come in front of the Community Appearance Board?
Well, nothing of the magnitude, because when all is said and done, it would have probably wound up a $350 million project.
Right.
Had it worked on the west side. Nothing of that magnitude, but as I say, when you're out driving, the decisions that the board makes on every case twice a month, you see those changes every week in Myrtle Beach. It might just be getting away from a huge sign box, or lowering a sign to a monument style, or upgrading the landscaping, or more uniform colors. Those things reflect the attention to detail that the CAB does. So you see those changes constantly. Nothing, though, of the magnitude of the airport on the west side. We have, though, told the county that we would welcome coming back with fruitful discussion for the east side. The rumor was going around, well, we just wouldn't approve anything, but it's on tape and under oath in every document that was signed that I welcome the idea of an east side terminal. So now, with discussion beginning for either expansion or a new terminal on the east side, I'm delighted. I think we can find common ground there.
That is big.
And it'll be a win-win for everyone.
Oh yeah, sure.
Unfortunately, some of the people near the base and the residences, they got some misinformation too. They thought, well, if the terminal went on the west side, the county was going to come in and buy their property at top dollar. The county was never planning on buying any of the residences around there. So we had to weigh their quality of life issues and all of the market common people that would be moving in. So it was a very, very difficult decision, but one that I'm extremely proud of, and think that the dedication of the board is remarkable, and it was very nice to have the backing publicly of the Myrtle Beach City Council as far as our decision.
Absolutely. You shared with viewers yesterday the importance of all the meetings being open to the public. The first and third Thursday, I believe, of every month. 1:30 p.m. within a walking distance of here, the City Services Building.
Come one and come all.
Absolutely. Do folks come in on a regular basis?
Yes, we do get members of the public.
Good.
They find it entertaining. And sometimes they know they're going to have to come to CAB in the future, and they want to see how the process works. And I'll have them come back to me a couple of months later and say, it was good that they came because they knew what the board was going to be looking for, and it helped their process very much.
Oh yeah. I was wondering, and I think I asked yesterday about folks if they come, or oftentimes is it architects principally who come? A lot of local business men and women come.
They do, and the public themselves come to make the presentation. We treat everyone with respect. I have the saying that I feed everyone with the same spoon. So if you're coming for a $50 million project or a $500 sign, you deserve the respect and the time and the attention from the board. So we give them that.
Larry, you shared a little bit off camera yesterday, right after the interview, about some experiences there in Chicago during one of your trips as a delegate representing the state of South Carolina to the Democratic National Convention. It was a pretty powerful story, and just to give a sense for viewers who may have seen you out in public or seen you locally, something back in '96, would you be willing to share with viewers a little bit about the experiences there on the trip up there?
In '96, I was delegate to the Democratic National Convention, and was enjoying very much the opportunity of participating in the nomination process. And matter of fact, I believe I said yesterday, everyone should go if they get a chance.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So Mark McBride, who was a former mayor of Myrtle Beach, had certainly never been before, so I took him with me to the convention. And while up there, I suffered a major stroke. And the prognosis from the doctors wasn't very good at the time, but I thought I've got too much to do, so eventually came back to Myrtle Beach from Northwestern Hospital and did my own therapy.
Your own therapy?
My own therapy. I got very frustrated with the idea of being packed off to Florence, where they have an excellent program for stroke victims. Maybe it's my stubbornness, but when the doctor told me in Chicago that I would have very limited speech and would have to wear a brace on my leg and my left arm would probably always have problems, I thought, I can't afford all that downtime. So I just made up my mind and worked very hard. A lot of prayers, a lot of prayers for me, I found out later, and extreme hard working conditions, but eventually came back, and it was a fascinating experience. I know you shouldn't think of a major illness as fascinating, but it absolutely was fascinating. The care and attention from the doctors and from the city of Myrtle Beach once I got back here was extraordinary. So I was very blessed for that experience. For
folks who didn't know you pre-'96, before the convention, did you walk with a cane before then?
Oh, no.
Right.
No. Oh no, I could walk for miles and miles and miles, and no cane at all.
Right.
And the left side was completely paralyzed, and that's why they said, I would have been lucky to be able to drag the leg with the brace, and the arm would almost be crippled, and the speech was really going to be affected. So no, the cane is the last vestige for me, and quite frankly, I think of it almost as a badge of honor now to have it.
We oftentimes hear about folks coming through amazing circumstances, don't get them on air on a regular basis, but the experience of going through, did you know what was happening, Larry?
No, I didn't. And Mark McBride, as I said, who was with me, he thought I looked peaked.
Right.
And so he called the EMS to the hotel, and they slapped all the instruments on me and the wires and all, and said they needed to take me to the hospital, and I refused. So I said, no, I got too much to do, and the nomination's tomorrow with President Clinton, so no, not going. I'll feel better after a good night's sleep. Go away, leave me alone.
Right.
So then the next morning we had a breakfast, and I think we had 2 or 3 U.S. senators as our guests there talking, and I was enjoying that, but couldn't really breathe or focus.
Is that right?
And Sue Deans, who was the editor of the Sun News at the time, she was up there because she's a native of Chicago.
Right.
And covering the convention also for the Sun News. She went over to Mark, and Mark said, we've got to do something about Larry. He doesn't look right or sound right. So they somehow got me in a cab and took me to Northwestern. And I agreed to stay for a few hours. So,
got to get back to the committee.
Got to get back. So then they said, well, how about just spend the night? Because the nomination speeches and all won't be till the following night. I said, well, all right. So somehow during the night, they came in and flipped on the lights. I remember that, and remember them taking me out of the bed, and I thought they were very rude to begin with. Where am I going? And I thought I was talking to them, but I found out later my vocal cords were paralyzed. I could not speak.
You have a memory of yourself talking.
Oh, yes. Yes, I was saying quite a few things. At one time I thought it was a Republican plot, you know, that they were doing this to all of the delegates in Chicago. So when you're lying on that gurney and they're wheeling you through the hospital, I looked up and saw acute stroke unit when the big double doors opened, and that's when I realized that, well, this is not pleasant. And then it just started from there. So it was a massive stroke.
And you were in Chicago for how long then?
At university, 3.5 weeks.
Really?
The reason a friend of mine flew up, Mark eventually had to come home. A friend flew up and got me out of the hospital, got me on the little plane, because a hurricane was coming to Myrtle Beach. I forget what hurricane it was, so they wanted me here so they could send me to Charleston or whatever. Fortunately, the hurricane bypassed us, but that was why they got me down here. So otherwise, I would have probably stayed up there longer.
Right. Boy, Larry.
It's been a road, but it's been fascinating.
Probably gotten you thinking more about even Marge Stonebrook and, of course, her efforts there with the American Heart Association locally and fighting heart disease and stroke. You know, folks think of the heart disease. I mean, the Heart Association must be all about hearts.
No, it's
strokes are
also
a very important component there, and for oftentimes for folks, just that sense of nothing's going to take me down. I can't.
Well, and men, quite frankly, are not as intelligent as women. And when you start feeling funny, chances are, especially when you cross that magic 40 or 50 or 60 age line, you should listen to your body. You should listen to your wife and go. If there's a chance something's happening, better safe than sorry. So I think I've learned that. So it's a tough lesson to learn, but I let people know that now if they're stubborn, like most of us are.
Those are great words. You say just pick up the phone, call 911, say I need help.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you may be a little embarrassed if it turns out to be heartburn, but consider the alternative for your family.
That's a great point. That's a great point. You shared yesterday you and your bride have been married almost 3 decades.
Yeah. Great girl.
Yeah, that's exciting. She's also in real estate.
Yes, she is. Trying to get her to slow down, but that's a work in progress.
Yeah. You know, as we talked about early yesterday, all these different awards you've won from the Horry County Association of Realtors, the Realtor of the Year, the Sun News Citizen of the Year, the Keep South Carolina Beautiful's Man of the Year, the Horry Georgetown Texas Alumni of the Year, and I think even the Volunteer of the Year here from the city of Myrtle Beach. Any of those really stick out in your mind as being one that...
The latest one, which was very amusing. I was very humbled by it, but the one from the city of Myrtle Beach for the Volunteer of the Year, this is a great city as far as volunteerism. Over 500 people volunteer things on a regular basis. And it was right in the middle of the airport controversy, and I thought, this is going to be read 2 or 3 different ways by people. So that one sticks in my mind. It really does. It was a great honor, but it's, I guess you always remember the latest.
Yeah. So many great activities and ways to make a difference. And for you, does anything over the last now 40 years in Myrtle Beach really stick out in your mind as life-changing moments for you, Larry, other than meeting your bride?
Watching Myrtle mature has been fascinating. We're coming of age. We have some great people in this town who have vision. It's great to be part of the process and to remember where we came from in a relatively short time, I think is a fascinating thing. At the end of my life, when I look back on it, it's going to be amazing to say, even if it isn't today, what I first remember about Myrtle, the uniqueness of it. So that's definitely a nugget for the memory bank.
Those are great words. Thanks so much for being with us this morning, Larry.
Thank you, Greg.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Larry Bragg coming up next. There were a lot of M's used in the last 48 hours. How exciting to be here yesterday with Larry. The experiences of having a guest in here and hearing him talk about the magic of Myrtle Beach. The magic of Myrtle Beach was a great way to wrap yesterday, and after the interview, hearing some more nuggets, which opened up the door to get him back in today. We stick with those M's, from the magic of Myrtle Beach into hearing him talk like he's talking about his own child, the maturing of Myrtle. The maturing of Myrtle, to hear him talk about the excitement in his life of watching Myrtle Beach over 40 years. Think about that. Arriving here thanks to the U.S. Air Force as a veteran here, being here for 5 years, and the service opportunities that opened up immediately after getting out of the Air Force and making Myrtle Beach his now home of 40 years. Think about those experiences for him as he now tries to figure out his legacy over the next 40 years, the impact that he can make in this community. Those are great words, day in and day out, the maturing of Myrtle Beach and the magic of Myrtle Beach. It's seen well in men and women, just like Larry and Dottie Bragg.